Hello and welcome back, English learners. You are listening to Speak English Naturally, the podcast where real conversation meets real language learning. I'm Emma.
And I'm John. And I'll be honest with you, right from the start, today's topic made me a little uncomfortable when Emma first suggested it.
Ha! And that reaction, John, is exactly why we need to talk about it.
I know. The topic is feelings, emotions, how we talk about what's going on inside us.
And before anyone closes this podcast and runs away, this is not a therapy session.
Although it might feel slightly therapeutic.
It might. But the reason we chose this topic is very practical. Because one of the biggest gaps for English learners, even intermediate and advanced ones, is emotional vocabulary. Yes, people can describe a holiday in perfect detail. They can talk about their work, their city, their hobbies. But the moment someone asks, "How are you really feeling?" they go blank. Or they say sad or happy and leave it there. Which is fine, but English has so much more to offer. So today we're going to explore how to express emotions clearly, precisely, and naturally in English. We'll talk about why emotional vocabulary matters, how to describe specific feelings, how to talk about difficult emotions without making things awkward, and how to respond when someone shares their feelings with you. Which is a skill that a lot of native speakers haven't quite mastered either, if I'm honest. Very true. And as always, this is a B1 to B2 level conversation, so the language is natural and flowing, but clear and accessible. Just listen, absorb, and let your English grow.
And we have a full word tour at the end, plus grammar and vocabulary quizzes. So stay with us all the way through and tell us in the comments, what emotion is hardest for you to express in English? We'd really love to know.
Mine is frustration. I either sound too angry or too calm. There's no middle setting.
We will absolutely cover that today.
Perfect. Let's go.
1. Why emotional vocabulary matters in English. So, John, let's start with the big picture. Why does it even matter how precisely we describe our emotions in English?
Well, I think the simple answer is connection. The way you talk about how you feel shapes how other people respond to you.
Yes, and it works in both directions, doesn't it? When you can name your own emotions accurately, you understand yourself better. And when you can name them to someone else, they understand you better too.
And in English specifically, there's an enormous range of emotion words. It's not just happy and sad. It's not just angry and scared. The language has dozens of words for small emotional differences that really matter. For example, there's a big difference between feeling anxious and feeling nervous, between feeling disappointed and feeling devastated, between feeling content and feeling ecstatic. Right. Each of those words carries a different weight, a different intensity, a different shade of meaning.
And when you use the right word, the conversation changes completely. People lean in. They say, "Tell me more." They feel like they're really seeing you.
Whereas if you just say, "I feel bad," which is fine, but it doesn't give people very much to hold on to.
Exactly. Bad is a very wide umbrella. Under that umbrella could be grief, guilt, shame, jealousy, loneliness, confusion, overwhelm. All very different experiences.
And each one deserves a proper word.
It does, because here's something really interesting. Research in psychology actually shows that when you can name an emotion precisely, it loses some of its power over you. Naming it helps regulate it.
So learning emotional vocabulary is not just a language skill, it's almost a life skill.
I genuinely believe that. Yes. 2. Beyond happy and sad, expanding your emotional range.
Okay, so let's do something practical. Let's take the big, basic emotions and expand them. Let's look at what lives underneath each one.
I love this exercise. Let's start with happy.
Happy is the classic. But what are the different kinds of happy?
There's joyful, a big, warm, often physical kind of happiness. There's content, a quiet, peaceful satisfaction. There's relieved, that specific happiness you feel when something stressful ends. There's proud, the happiness that comes from achieving something meaningful. And there's grateful, the warm feeling of appreciating what you have.
And then there's excited, which is happiness mixed with anticipation. And elated, which is almost floating happiness, very intense. And amused, which is lighter, more playful.
Each one feels different in the body, and each one sounds different when you describe it.
Now, let's do sad.
Sad is such a wide word. Under sad, you have melancholy, a gentle, lingering sadness, often without a clear reason. Grief, deep sadness from loss. Heartbroken, sadness from a broken relationship or betrayal. Disappointed, sadness when something didn't meet your expectations. Lonely, sadness from a lack of connection. And homesick, a specific longing for a place or time you've left behind.
And all of those feel quite different, don't they? Loneliness and grief are not the same experience at all.
Not at all. And using the right word means the person listening can actually understand what you need or what you don't need.
Now, let's do angry, because I think anger is the most misunderstood emotional category.
It really is. People think anger is just shouting, but there are so many variations. There's frustrated, a blocked anger, when things won't work the way you want. There's irritated, a lighter, surface-level annoyance. There's furious, intense, explosive anger. There's resentful, a slow, simmering anger that builds over time from feeling treated unfairly. And there's bitter, which is resentment that has hardened. And offended, which is anger mixed with hurt feelings because someone crossed a line. Yes, and indignant, which is a kind of righteous anger when you feel something is deeply unfair or wrong.
I feel indignant quite regularly, actually.
Ha! As do I.
3. How to describe fear and anxiety in English.
Let's talk about fear and anxiety now, because I think this is a category where a lot of learners and people in general really struggle to be specific.
Yes, fear is such a broad word, but when you look more closely, there are very different types.
So what are they?
There's nervous, a mild, common feeling before something uncertain, like before a presentation or a first date. It's not pleasant, but it's manageable.
Then there's anxious, which is a step deeper. Anxiety tends to last longer, it often doesn't have one specific cause, and it can affect your whole day.
Yes, and there's apprehensive, which is a slightly more formal word for a quiet dread about something coming, like feeling apprehensive before a difficult conversation.
And then there's dread itself, which is a heavy, dark anticipation of something bad, much stronger than apprehensive.
And panicked, which is sudden, overwhelming fear that often feels physical. Your heart races, your thinking goes foggy. And terrified, the extreme end, a deep, immobilizing fear. What I love about this range is that it helps people say exactly where they are. I'm a bit nervous tells a very different story from I've been feeling really anxious lately, or I'm absolutely dreading this.
And that specificity means the people around you can respond appropriately. Instead of just saying, don't worry, which honestly is never helpful, they might see something more useful.
Like, that sounds really hard. What would help right now?
Which is a much better response.
So much better, and worth learning on both sides, how to express and how to respond.
We'll come to the responding part a little later.
Yes, let's first look at some of the more complex emotions that are really hard to name.
4. The complicated emotions, the ones without easy names.
This is my favorite part. The emotions that are real, but that feel almost impossible to put into words.
Yes, because life is complicated, and our feelings are complicated, and sometimes one word isn't enough.
Let's start with overwhelmed, because I think a lot of people feel this and don't quite have the language for it.
Overwhelmed means you have too much coming at you, too many demands, too many emotions, too much information, and you feel like you can't process or handle it all. It's a heavy, sometimes paralyzing feeling.
And it's different from busy. Busy is about the schedule. Overwhelmed is about the internal experience of that schedule.
Exactly. You can be busy and energized, or you can be overwhelmed and exhausted. Very different.
What about guilt versus shame? Because people confuse these two a lot.
Great distinction. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is about an action. Shame is about your identity, and they feel completely different and need different responses.
Guilt can actually be useful. It motivates you to make amends, but shame tends to make people withdraw and hide.
Yes, and in English, it's very common to confuse the two in conversation. People say, I feel so ashamed, when they actually mean guilty, and the difference matters.
What about nostalgia?
Nostalgia is a bittersweet emotion. It contains both warmth and sadness at the same time. You're remembering something good, but the goodness of the memory also reminds you that it's gone. So it's happy and sad simultaneously.
I feel nostalgic about university. Great memories, but I'm also glad I'm not 20 years old anymore.
Classic nostalgia. And then there's ambivalent, which means having two conflicting feelings about the same thing at the same time. Not indecision, actual emotional conflict.
Like feeling excited and terrified about a big change at the same time?
Exactly. Both feelings are completely real. Neither one cancels the other out.
And there's a beautiful word, vulnerable, which means feeling emotionally open and exposed as though your defenses are down.
Vulnerable is such an important word in English conversations because many people feel it, but very few people name it. And naming it actually creates connection.
When someone says, I feel a bit vulnerable right now, it's an act of trust, and it almost always brings people closer.
It does. Vulnerability, named honestly, is one of the most powerful things in human communication.
5 useful sentence structures for talking about feelings.
All right, we've talked about what to say. Now let's look at how to say it, because sentence structure matters a lot when expressing emotions.
Yes, and one of the most useful patterns is I feel plus adjective plus because or when plus reason.
So instead of just I feel stressed, you say I feel stressed when I have too many deadlines and not enough time to think.
Immediately more honest and more specific. Another powerful pattern is it makes me feel plus adjective plus when plus situation.
It makes me feel unappreciated when my effort goes unnoticed. That sentence is clear, personal, and non-aggressive.
Which is very useful in conflict situations because it focuses on your feeling, not on blaming the other person.
This is actually what communication experts call an I statement. You speak from your own experience instead of accusing.
Yes, you make me angry is aggressive and puts the other person on the defensive. I feel frustrated when this keeps happening is honest, but invites conversation instead of conflict.
Another structure? I've been feeling blank lately. This one is great for describing an ongoing emotional state.
I've been feeling a bit low lately. I've been feeling really unsettled since the move. These phrases show duration and build a fuller picture.
And for softer, more tentative expressions, I'm a bit, or I'm kind of, plus adjective.
I'm a bit overwhelmed right now. I'm kind of dreading it, if I'm honest. These are softer and feel more natural in casual conversation.
And one of my favorites, if I'm honest, or to be honest, because in English, these little phrases signal that you're about to say something real.
If I'm honest, I'm not sure I'm okay. That sentence is simple but incredibly courageous. And the phrase, if I'm honest, gives it permission to be real.
Also, I don't know how to explain it, but is a beautiful opener when the emotion is complex.
Yeah.
6.
How to respond when someone shares their feelings.
This is such an important section because expressing your own feelings is only half the skill. The other half is what you do when someone else opens up to you.
And this is where a lot of people, in any language, go slightly wrong. Not from bad intentions, but from not knowing what to say.
Right. And the instinct is often to fix things, to offer a solution, to say, don't worry, or it'll be fine.
Which, as we mentioned earlier, is almost never what the person needs in that moment.
What do they actually need?
Usually to feel heard, to know that what they're feeling is real and valid, not fixed, just acknowledged.
So, what are the phrases that do that in English?
Let's go through some really useful ones. First, that sounds really hard. Simple, warm, it validates the difficulty without dramatizing it.
I can imagine how you feel. This shows empathy. You're trying to step into their experience.
It makes complete sense that you'd feel that way. This is powerful because it tells the person their feelings are rational, not excessive. Because a lot of people carry shame about their emotions. They think, I shouldn't feel this way. And someone saying it makes sense can be genuinely releasing. Yes. And then there's, do you want to talk about it? Or would you rather be distracted? Because sometimes people don't want to go deeper. They just want company.
Giving people a choice is so respectful. Not pushing, not fixing, just offering.
I'm here if you need me. 3 of the most useful words in the English language.
And what do you need right now? Because different people need different things. Some want advice, some want a hug, some want someone to just sit quietly with them.
Asking removes guesswork. It shows you care enough to ask instead of assume.
What about what not to say?
A few classics to avoid. At least. As in, at least it's not worse. It immediately minimizes the feeling.
Other people have it harder. Also unhelpful. Pain doesn't have a competition.
You shouldn't feel that way. Almost never useful. You can't tell someone their feeling is wrong. The feeling is real, even if the thinking behind it can shift.
And just cheer up. Said with love, but it implies the person could simply choose to feel better and isn't.
Right. The golden rule of responding to emotions: listen first. Acknowledge second. Ask third. Only then, and only if invited, offer perspective or advice. 7. Talking about emotions in professional settings.
Now let's shift to a slightly different environment. What about talking about your emotions in professional situations? At work, in meetings, with colleagues or managers?
This is tricky territory because the norms around emotional expression at work vary a lot. But one thing is clear: emotional intelligence at work is increasingly valued.
Emotional intelligence. Can you define that for our listeners?
Of course, emotional intelligence, often called EQ, is the ability to understand, manage, and express your own emotions, and to understand and respond to the emotions of others. It's considered one of the most important professional skills today.
So being aware of how you feel and how others feel, and being able to navigate both, is genuinely a career skill?
Completely. And in English workplace conversations, there are ways to express emotion that are honest without being unprofessional.
Like what?
Instead of, I'm really angry about this decision, which might put people on the defensive, you might say, I have some concerns I'd like to raise, or I wasn't entirely comfortable with how that was handled.
So you're not suppressing the feeling,
You're expressing it in a way that keeps the conversation productive.
Exactly. And for positive emotions at work, expressing appreciation is hugely powerful. I really appreciated your support on that project. That feedback was genuinely helpful. I felt more confident going in because of what you said.
And these phrases build relationships. They make colleagues feel seen and valued.
Which comes back to the whole idea we started with. Emotional vocabulary creates connection, and connection creates trust, and trust makes everything easier.
At work and everywhere else.
Everywhere. 8. When emotions are hard to translate.
Let's talk about something that I know many of our listeners relate to: The feeling that some emotions from your native language don't quite translate into English.
Oh, yes, this is such a real experience.
Because every language has emotion words that are uniquely theirs. Words that capture something so specific about human experience that other languages simply haven't built a word for it yet.
English has a few of these borrowed words, actually. Schadenfreude, from German, the pleasure you feel when something bad happens to someone you resent. English borrowed it because there was no equivalent.
And saudade, from Portuguese, a deep, bittersweet longing for something or someone you love that is absent. Beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time.
And hygge, from Danish and Norwegian, a warm, cozy, connected feeling of comfort and contentment. English has adopted it because nothing quite matched it.
So, what do you do when you're feeling something in your native language that doesn't have a clean English translation?
You describe it. This is actually a wonderful language exercise. You say, in my language, we have a word for, and then you describe the feeling. And often, the English speaker leans in, fascinated. Because naming a universal human experience that people recognize but couldn't name before, that's a gift. It really is. And it makes the conversation memorable. It makes you memorable. So don't be frustrated when your emotion doesn't translate. Use that gap as an opportunity. Describe it. Share it. Teach it. That's one of the great gifts of being multilingual. I love that perspective. And maybe one day, English will borrow your word too.
Ha! That would be something.
9. Taking care of your emotional life in a second language.
Before we get to the word tour, I want to talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough.
What's that?
How tiring it can be to live emotionally in a second language.
Oh, yes, that's so real.
Because when you're operating in a language that isn't your first, you're already using extra mental energy just to communicate. And processing deep emotions in that language adds another layer.
Studies have actually shown that people feel emotions slightly differently depending on which language they're using. Your first language tends to carry more emotional weight, more gut feeling. A second language can feel a little more detached, a little more rational.
Which can actually be useful sometimes. Like when you need to have a difficult conversation and the slight detachment helps you stay calmer.
But it can also mean that when you're in genuine emotional distress, your second language doesn't feel adequate. It feels thin.
And that's normal. That's not a failure of your English. That's just how the human brain works.
So please be kind to yourself. If you find yourself struggling to express something deep and emotional in English, that's not because your English is bad. It's because emotion is hard in any language.
And the fact that you are trying, the fact that you are learning these words, practicing these sentences, building this vocabulary means your emotional English is growing every day.
Every single day. And one day, a word will arrive exactly when you need it, and you'll feel heard, and it will be worth every minute of this journey.
That was beautiful, Emma.
Thank you. I felt moved while saying it, if I'm honest.
See, look at that.
Perfect emotional vocabulary. Practice what you preach. Okay, bye everyone!